All right, so it looks like Ben Shapiro actually got destroyed pretty hard by a guy named Andrew Neil on the BBC. Now, Andrew Neil is somebody who, I guess, like a journalist. He's right wing. He's very right wing. My understanding is he was handpicked by Rupert Murdoch, which is he's the owner of Fox, and he was the one who had told the reporter, don't report on the story, on the story of the whole Stormy Daniels thing during the election, because we're in it for Trump. So we're talking about, Fox News, state TV, essentially is what it is. And he was handpicked. I forget which publication it is that's owned by Murdoch in the UK. Someone can, tell us in the comment section. I forgot which one it was. And I think Andrew Neil writes at the Daily Mail, which is like probably the worst publication like ever. Probably the worst one I've ever seen in my entire life. So this was an interview that was being done with Ben Shapiro for his new garbage book. And this interview is 16 minutes long. We're not going to watch the whole thing because this video is going to be like 45 minutes. But we are going to watch some clips of this, some important parts of this video. And I really recommend you go watch the whole thing. It's 16 minutes. You have to watch it. I do have some important parts that I want to look at here. And Ben Shapiro got triggered, and he ends up leaving the interview before finishing it in a fit of rage. And it's very odd. So let's go ahead and start this out here. This is a good starting spot.
If you were an anti-abortion person, I would be putting pro-abortion questions to you. But you are
really, would you call the pro-choice position?
So why don't you just answer my question?
Sir, I'm happy to answer your question. Please answer this one. Would you suggest that a late-term abortion is brutal?
I'm not taking a view on this issue. I'm asking you the questions.
Sir, you just suggested that the pro-life position is inherently brutal and terrible, so I'm asking you, as an objective journalist, would you ask the same question to a pro-choice advocate by calling their position brutal and horrible?
What I'm asking you is that why is it that a bill banning abortions after a woman has been pregnant for 6 weeks is not a return to the Dark Ages? What's your answer?
My answer is something called science. Human life exists at conception. It ought to be protected. Now, back to my question to you. You purport to be an objective journalist. BBC purports to be an objective down-the-middle network. It obviously is not. It never has been. And you, as a journalist, are proceeding to call one side of the political aisle ignorant, barbaric, and sending us back to the Dark Ages. Why don't you just say that you're on the left? Is this so hard for you? Why can't you just be honest? Seriously, it's a serious question.
Mr. Shapiro, if you only knew how ridiculous that statement is, you wouldn't have said it. So let's move on.
So, again, right there, you guys saw Andrew Neil's laugh. And that's because Andrew Neil is a right-winger. Like, he's a pretty hard, like, slanted right-winger is my understanding as well. Because as I just told you, he was handpicked by Rupert Murdoch, and I believe he writes for the Daily Mail. So we're talking like a hard-line right-winger, right? Like a right-winger, okay? And that's why he, like, the genuine laugh. I haven't seen a laugh that genuine before in a long time, actually. And he laughed so genuinely because he's like, do you have any idea how stupid that is? And so immediately Ben Shapiro's cover is blown now. He's trying to attribute malice to this whole situation. And the thing that he's mistaking for this journalist, right, to Andrew Neil, because I guess Andrew Neil actually does hard interviews for both sides of whoever it is. It doesn't matter who it is. And, that especially is as evidence of this. But I don't know everything about Andrew Neil, so, I can't be 1,000% sure on that. But that's what the case seems to be. But what Ben Shapiro is doing here is he's actually mixing up objectivity and neutrality. Neutrality is garbage. Objectivity is where it should be, right? So if you're talking about, there's this 6-week bill, this heartbeat bill, that was passed in Georgia, and I think there's one in Alabama as well. And the purpose of the one in Georgia, I forgot if it was Alabama or Georgia, which one is specifically geared towards, we want to fuck Roe v. Wade. We want to get that to be overturned, so we need this to go to the Supreme Court. We need it to go through the appellate system. So the situation we're looking at here is at 6 weeks, right? And I was reading some of what AOC was saying because she was talking about it, and I read some of her tweets, and basically the way she explained it is that most women don't even know that they're pregnant by 6 weeks because they're either late on their period or they don't have an appointment set up at that time within 6 weeks, and it's like tough to know whether or not you're actually pregnant. And so what this effectively does is it's just a full-on abortion ban is what it is, because virtually no women know that they're pregnant by then. So yeah, it is a dark age one where you're just banning abortion, and it's pretty insane. And so, like, at 6 weeks, It's not even a fetus, guys. You guys know how we always talk about the word fetus is always used in these discussions. It's not even a fetus. It's an embryo. I forget what week it is that it turns to a fetus, but it's not even a fetus at that point. It's still just an embryo. At 6 weeks, it's the size of a sweet pea. Dead ass. A sweet pea, dog. And they're like pictures that are floating around, and I'm not gonna lie, dude, it just looks like a blob of like shit is what it looks like. Okay, it does not like, there's nothing formed. It looks like shrimp, and it's ridiculous, of course, right? And so, I don't think there's really any problem with an abortion at 6 weeks or anything like early in the first trimester. And the vast majority of them, I think over 90, I forget if it was over 90% or 99% happened between 1 and 13 weeks. So this is absolutely a return to the Dark Ages. And that's why Andrew Neil, a right-winger, is saying that, because it's true.
On. Would you vote
I
for
think
Mr.
it's pretty evident from your own questions exactly what you are, sir.
Trump? Would you vote for Mr. Trump in 2020?
I'd certainly consider voting.
Okay, so I want to move on forward here, actually. But here we go to this next clip. This is another interesting clip here where Andrew Neil is basically, and all of Andrew Neil's critiques here are all based on the premise of his book, which is, I guess, like, the American discourse is too angry or something like that, and I guess he's supposed to be the solution or some shit like that, right? And so what he's going to do here is he's going to bring up some examples of how Ben Shapiro is detrimental to the discourse, the political discourse in the United States. And let's see how this exchange goes.
You position yourselves as supposed tellers of hard truths, but haven't you all just really coarsened public discourse in America and exacerbated its divisions?
It's kind of odd to be hearing about me coarsening public discourse when you call policies you disagree with brutal and bringing us back to the Dark Ages, sir.
The point, I don't want to return to it, but the point was to put a position for you to reply to it. And I thought we covered that.
I
I'll put
think
some of the points to it, because on your
videos, characterization of issues is part of the problem in the coarsening of public debate.
Well, maybe.
No, it's objective, and I didn't want to cut in here, but no, the way that he's framing the issue is an objective truth. Again, as I just told you, vast majority of women don't know that they're pregnant by 6 weeks, so you're effectively banning all abortions. It's not a fetus. It's not a fetus, guys. It's an embryo. It's the stage before being a fetus, and it's literally the size of a sweet pea at 6 weeks. And that's what we're talking about here. So he's accurately portraying what the hell it is that you believe in, and the way that he's like doing this, relativity type of thing, or trying to equate, like, oh, you're just trying to put one side as good, one side as bad. It's like, what? What are you doing?
Maybe it's also part of your problem too, because we have from your YouTube videos, Ben Shapiro destroys the abortion argument. Ben Shapiro destroys transgenderism and abortion. Is that not a kind of coarse public discourse?
Well, are those videos labeled by me?
I have no idea. But
why are you picking out? Why are you? I have a question. Why are you picking out random YouTube videos put up by people who are not me?
Are you
and then attributing the titles to me?
Are you unhappy with the way they've been described?
So, are those random videos that are not put up by him, are they titled specifically by Ben Shapiro where he's typing on the keyboard? Nah, he hires people because all that Wilkes Brothers funding, the Bible literalists that he gets, that's more than enough to fund a ton of employees, right? And that's what he has. They probably don't get paid much because, he's a Republican, probably doesn't want to pay his employees anything. But the examples that he just gave, and I pulled these up just for you guys, just to show you guys. Here's the first one that he references. Now this one is titled, as you guys can see here, Ben Shapiro destroys transgenderism and pro-abortion arguments. Now what's the problem with the idea of this being some rando who posted this and it went viral? Well, if we look here, what's the YouTube channel that's posted on? The Daily Wire. It's his own fucking YouTube channel. So this is not some random person posting this, you doofus. It's your own channel. And I wish Andrew Neil had known this. I can't blame him. The guy's like 80 years old. I don't even know how the hell he did such a good job in the first place. So I really, don't really want to criticize him. Now here we go. Here's the other one that Andrew Neil had mentioned. This one is titled Ben Shapiro destroys the abortion. I'm surprised the destroys isn't capitalized for some reason. Surprising. But what channel is that one uploaded from? The Daily Wire. Whose channel is The Daily Wire? Ben Shapiro. That's whose channel it is. So when he says stupid stuff, like, and he's just lying about it, he just made that up. Like, he made that up. That is coming from him. He's controlling that. It's his employees putting it up there on his own channel. There's a video where it says, like, Ben Shapiro destroys Neil deGrasse Tyson. And he's talking about, like, scientific advancement or something. Like, really, bro? You're destroying Neil deGrasse Tyson? What? What kind of nonsense is that? I think about how hilarious that is. Unbelievably hilarious, for sure. But, again, dude, this is the problem with Ben Shapiro, and this is just another, really great example of that whole thing. Now, I also want to get towards the end of this video now, because this is where, everything happens. But let's go.
Words are highly designed to produce the consensus and understanding that the book seems to want to produce. That's my point, that you write about, Judeo-Christian culture and so on, but so much of what you've said in the past would seem to turn its back on Judeo-Christian culture.
You're lecturing me on Judeo-Christian culture after you call the pro-life position barbaric?
I just
Really?
asked you a question.
And I asked you a question. You failed.
Again, so first of all, the abortion stance that he's doing is not the pro-life stance. It's the stance, because I don't know what Andrew Neil's position is on abortion. Actually, I really don't know. But there's a good chance that he's probably pro-life as well. I don't know. But he's specifically speaking about the 6-week abortion ban, which is very specific. And yes, that is a return to the Dark Ages. It's hilariously stupid and comical. And pretty scary, honestly. Not really stupid or funny, honestly. It's pretty scary, to be honest with you. And so he's specifically talking about that. And I don't understand, like, what link he's trying to do with Judeo-Christian values to that. And he's always trying to play the victim, man. Victim card left and right. Really, you're trying to tell me about it? Oh, my gosh, I'm so offended. Shut up. Shut up, dude.
To answer a single one of mine. Frankly,
This is not a debate. It's an interview to you. You're not there to debate. He's asking you fucking questions to answer, you dumbass. Why are you, like, what do you mean? Oh, you didn't answer any of my questions, bro. What, are you interviewing him or something? No. It's an interview of you, so you're the one answering the goddamn questions.
I find this whole thing a waste of time. If you want to read the book and critique the book, why don't you read and critique the book? If you want to critique me, you can think whatever you want of me.
Why don't you
frankly,
just try and
I don't
answer
care.
the
I don't
questions?
frankly give a damn what you think of me since I've never heard of you.
And I've never heard of you until I briefed myself for this. But that's not the...
All right, so, and he does this multiple times here, and I don't know if we're going to catch this part or not, but he literally says verbatim, I'm popular and you're not. So it's very clear what Ben Shapiro is and what is at heart for him. It has to do with inflating his ego by having his own staff members. Guys, there are articles, endless articles, on his own website that he owns, or actually Wilkes Brothers own, that say Ben Shapiro destroys blank. So while he maintains that, he's doing what he's doing. He's inflating his ego with those things. He is lying. There's a clip of him, by the way, where he literally says that his goal is to just... he tells conservatives that the goal should be basically to have an argument with the liberal and just embarrass them in front of as many people as possible. So this guy is not an honest actor, and I find it hilarious that he's playing the victim here.
The issue. You have a
Then
new
why the hell
book
are you
out,
interviewing
and
me,
it's an interesting book. But my point is, your book claims that
Well, it'd be
society...
nice if you would quote it from time to time.
Your book is... Well, actually, I've done so several times, and I'm about to do so again, if you would let me just finish the question. Your book
frankly, I don't
claims
think
that
this- you know what?
society
Honestly-
is turning
honestly,
its
sir.
back on Judeo-Christian values.
Yeah, this
What are
considering
those values? What are the values it's turning its back on?
Honestly, I think that's a question he couldn't answer. I wonder if that was why he conveniently decided to dip. Like, that's a good-ass question, because when you talk about... And I think it was... I think Kyle Kalinske would say this in response to the whole Judeo-Christian talking point. He'd be like, well, what values are you specifically even talking about? And so I think that's a very valid question here, and that's the one it looks like Andrew Neil is asking. Like, which ones are you specifically talking about? And I have a feeling that if you are to ask Ben, as he did here, and he refused to answer... He probably doesn't know, like, which ones are we departing from that you love so much? Like, which ones? Which ones are going away? And who would they be going away because of, and all this kind of stuff. So I find it very convenient that Ben Shapiro decided to dip when a really good question was asked.
I I'm not inclined to continue an interview with a person as badly motivated as you as an interviewer. So I think we're done here. I appreciate your time, sir.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time and for showing that anger is not part of American political discourse now, Mr.
Oof, that was a burn. Did you hear that burn right there? He said, thank you for showing us that anger is not part of the American discourse, because Ben Shapiro came on and rage quit the interview because he was actually getting grilled by someone who knew their stuff. And it is, honestly, and again, I guess I didn't catch the part there where he literally says, I'm popular and you're not. And he accuses him of basically trying to make money off of, Ben Shapiro accuses Andrew Neil of trying to make money off of him. And it's funny because Andrew then says, like, oh, the BBC doesn't, like, make that much money. And I think it's because the BBC is taxpayer funded. But what's hilarious about that is the projection by that statement, because Ben knows that for him, everything's a money venture, right? He believes what he's saying, but it's a money venture. And so he projects that onto everyone else, and he genuinely believes that that's the opinion of everyone else. So this clip, you guys, this clip just absolutely went crazy on Twitter. It went crazy on social media. Everybody was responding to this. They were dunking on Ben Shapiro. Even Ben Shapiro himself self-admitted that he lost, and that he was, he rage quit and he was a loser who lost. He literally said it himself on Twitter. You can look at that tweet. I do remember a Kyle Kulinski tweet saying, he basically said, no wonder why Ben Shapiro ducked out of a debate with me. He can't even handle an interview with someone who's not a college kid. And again, dude, every single person on the internet was dunking on Ben Shapiro for this. And for good reason, man. Ben Shapiro's a total doofus. He plays the victim card nonstop. You know what this reminded me of? This reminded me of when Steven Crowder was debating Yusuf. And he was trying to find like some stupid, I'm victim, I'm offended type thing just to get out of the convo. I was like, what is going on? Like, why are you hanging up on these weird, like, oh, he called you autistic. Whoa, like the world is over or something like that. It was just, it was just very odd. And I thoroughly enjoyed this. So again, I really please go watch this whole thing. You don't want to miss this. And apparently there's even part afterwards where the panel on BBC just roasts the crap out of Ben Shapiro here. So let me know your thoughts on this down below. How much did you enjoy this on a scale of 1 to 10?